For you folks under 50 years old, there was a show in the 60s. I'm too young for it. I just remember reruns in the 70s called Dragnet. But this is New Orleans. This is a little bit after 4 o'clock. It's the Neutral Ground with me, Corey Johnson, a wide open Wednesday edition of the Neutral Ground. Wide Open Wednesday means you're the show producer. Whatever you'd like to discuss. Maybe a topic that I'm neglecting, not discussing enough, not at all. Kaboom goes the dynamite. You're the show producer on Wide Open Wednesday. All you got to do is holla, dial us up. Rouse's Markets phone lines, 504-766-9480. Rouse's Markets phone lines, 766-9480. We got a good one lined up for you. We always try to have a good one lined up for you. 4 to 6 o'clock, 2 big hours. Oh, so fine, 93.9 FM. 93.9 FM. New Orleans' own 107.9 FM right now. 600 AM will take you from Baton Rouge up and down the I-10, I-12 corridor, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, into the panhandle of Florida, 600 AM. KaareTalks.com, live streaming KaareTalks.com. Check out the program till 6 from our website, KaareTalks.com. Check it out on YouTube right now. Live audio, video streaming on YouTube. Corey Johnson, Neutral Ground. Corey spelled K-A-A-R-E. K-A-A-R-E. Corey Johnson, Neutral Ground on YouTube. 2 big hours till 6 o'clock. Hey, TV fans in Louisiana, Cox Channel 4 television for the next 90 minutes till 5:30. The first hour and a half of the 2-hour talk radio program, simulcast on TV. That means live on the radio, live on TV right now. Every weekday afternoon, live on TV, 90 minutes. Cox Channel 4 throughout Louisiana. We're also on the charter television system. That would be Spectrum, Channel 333. Spectrum 333 statewide. 4 to 5:30. Yeah, you right. Wide Open Wednesday. I mentioned Rouse's Markets phone lines, 766-9480 to dial us up. We got a good one for you. I mentioned that too. LBJ will be joining us. LeBron Joseph, Channel 6 News anchor reporter, LBJ, longtime radio personality. Yaddy, New Orleanian, loves to fish. LBJ in a few minutes. Coming up in the 5 o'clock power hour, he's got a new book out on Skip Bertman. Glenn Guilbeau, New Orleans' own Glenn Guilbeau, who's been covering LSU athletics for about as long as LeBron Joseph's been doing his deal. I've been at it like 30 plus years. These cats have been at it a little north of that. Both of them probably closing in on 40. I'm closer to 30 than 40 in this business. They're closer to 40 than 30. Anyway, LBJ in a few minutes, 4 o'clock hour. Glenn Guilbeau, 5 o'clock power hour. Yeah, you right. The state awarded a contract to study the St. Bernard Transportation Corridor. This is kind of interesting in a way. This Florida Avenue Expressway that's been discussed in Louisiana for more than half a century, since the 60s. Florida Avenue, that the best way I can describe it, that Lowe's on Elysian Fields in between I-10 and I-610 is on the corner of Elysian Fields and Florida Avenue. If you go due east down Florida Avenue, You get to the parish line, turns into the 40 Arpit Canal, which goes due east right into Paris Road, future I-510, even more of an extension of I-510. Anyway, a Florida Avenue Expressway was long ago proposed from where I-10 and I-610 come together right by the Lowe's on Elysian Fields. That would go down Florida Boulevard into St. Bernard Parish, down the 40 Arpit Canal, connecting into Paris Road I-510. That should have been built years, decades ago. When I was in Baton Rouge, I'm not making this up, working in the Senate in the late 80s, Buddy Roemer was governor. This timed project, that was the acronym for Transportation Intermodal something or other, that Audubon Bridge connecting St. Francisville to New Roads, that suspension bridge that 8 cars a day go on, that was financed, built under that, proposed and built under that. The UEP Long Bridge expansion 20-something years later, proposed and built under that. A $300 million bridge, part of the Florida Avenue Expressway, proposed under the Time Project, under Buddy Roemer, when I was a student at LSU. Just insane. 35 years ago. This would be like an extension almost of that. Instead of the Florida Avenue Expressway to I-510, it'll be I-510 going east, southeast to Violet and the Louisiana International Terminal. This Port of New Orleans, nearly $2 billion container terminal in Violet. An elevated roadway connecting the terminal, connecting Violet to I-510 for not just trucks on the, port to use, for the public to use. Finally, a major highway elevated out of St. Bernard Parish, a hurricane evacuation route that's not Paris Road, St. Bernard Highway, Judge Perez, but an elevated expressway, flood-proof, hurricane-proof, that would connect to I-510, which connects to I-10. So that's the port is almost the incidental. This is a huge victory in my mind for St. Bernard. The push now needs to be to keep extending it and do this Florida Avenue Expressway. And if you want me to keep talking about it, a new Mississippi River Bridge at Chalmette, at Violet, connecting into the West Bank. I don't know, somewhere Belle Chase, near English Turn, somewhere like that, connecting into the eventual I-49, West Bank Expressway. All right, I'll be quiet. First things first, step one. They are studying the St. Bernard Transportation Corridor. The St. Bernard Transportation Corridor would support the nearly $2 billion terminal and connect Violet, connect the terminal to I-510 via elevated expressway. Nearly $34,000 in airfare alone. These junkets aren't cheap. Seoul, Korea is not a cheap trip. It's not driving the, family van to Houston for the weekend. The mayor plus 2 others, South Korea, $34,000 in city funds for first class, business class airline tickets. The mayor's trying to snake around it, claiming, more than a 10-hour flight, don't have to pay for those upgrades. The city charter says otherwise. Flights booked 11 days in advance. No one books 11 days in advance international travel. City charter requires 14 days. We could go on and on and on. Fill you in on that a little bit later in the program. When we return, LBJ joins us as we broadcast live from the Buddy Diliberto River City's Total Maintenance Studios It is hot out there. 93, 94 degrees. Feels like 103, 104 degrees. Definitely hydrate up. Lots of water. Got to stay hydrated. Got to have the air conditioning working. That's where Fair and Honest Lucas and the boys come in. Honest air conditioning experts that come immediately. Find them at NOLAAC.com. Find them at NOLAAC.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Did you know Rouse's sells only Angus beef? Angus beef's natural marbling means more succulence and flavor. Whether you choose Rouse's USDA Prime, Choice, or Select, it'll be only Angus beef when you get it at Rouse's. Tastes like home.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
The French bread of the city of New Orleans. Good to the last crumb. Leidenheimer French bread.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes, a magazine as unique as you.
Francesca Deli and Pizzeria has over 15 specialty sandwiches, a big 10-ounce burger, and some of the best pizza in New Orleans. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End.
When a young man comes in and they walk into our store and you can see they're a little intimidated. Last week, I saw the young man. I said, "Hey, what can I do to give you a hand?" He said, "Well, I'm here for an engagement ring, but I don't think I'm in the right place." So I got him to my desk, and within an hour, he had purchased an engagement ring, had spent $1,000, and he was treated like he spent a lot more, and I'm sure we have a customer for life. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port NOLA has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans. You're working here. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. Trey Yen in Mandeville, a new cuisine.
Total maintenance keeps you cool, New Orleans. NOLAAC.com is your cool spot.
The sounds of New Orleans, Corey Johnson with you. Yeah, you right. Thanks so much for checking us out on this wide open Wednesday. Rouse's Markets phone lines are open 766-9480. 766-9480. He's known as LBJ. LeBron Joseph joins us on the program. What up, LB?
Oh, Code Joe from the 70122.
Yep. Doing it near the Paris Avenue area.
We're both from the 70122. How you been, man?
Now you're mid-city now, right?
Yeah, I'm like Lakeview Light, mid-city-ish.
Yeah,
right
city park-ish.
City park-ish, yeah, Navarre-ish.
Yep.
I kind of like it, though, you know? So it's a hip little neighborhood and it's close to the interstate. We kind of dig it, you know. How you been, man?
I've been good. Yourself?
All has been well, you know, working hard, doing my thing. Family's good. I can fish. And, you know, I'm very, very low maintenance. As long as I can fish, then life is great.
Well, fishing works out well for you because it's usually an early morning event. And your shift to the morning show, I was about to say, you've been up about 14 hours or so.
Yeah, the rise is early, man. But you know what? I like it. It's not unfamiliar territory for me. You know, I did mornings on the radio side for, you know, over a decade and stuff. And so I prefer starting my day very early, even if it's in the middle of the night, because that means that the day can potentially end a little earlier and you got a few more daylight hours, you know?
No, it is kind of funny when you're walking out the office at 10:30, 11 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Like, peace. I see you all.
Exactly. Lunch hasn't started. I'm done for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. LBJ is with us. LB, let's do a little bio. Born and raised in New Orleans. Right off Paris Avenue in the 70122?
Actually born on Long Island, New York, in Rockville Center, because my parents, who are New Orleans natives, as a young couple with my brother Patrick, moved to New York. My grandparents were living there for about 25 years. My mom and dad, newly married, new little baby, moved to New York. My dad started his floor covering business up there. And I was born Long Island. My brother Dennis was, and my sister Kim. And we kind of all came succession, like right after each other. But moved back to New Orleans when I was 5 and a half, almost 6. And I've been here for the rest of the time. I've called New Orleans home pretty much for the rest of that time. The tribe is from New Orleans. So, you know, don't get it twisted. You know, everybody's here. You know, all of my folks are New Orleans folks, and we love it. And, you know, but growing up here, you're absolutely right. McDonald, 39, Bell Junior High, St. Aug, Loyola, the whole thing. And I've been, Corey, blessed, as you have, to have spent the majority of my career professionally here. Most of my career has been radio, and this is 42 years in radio for me. I do weekends on iHeart's WYLD FM, but I'd say over the last, say, 13 or 14 years have been blessed to also work in the television side with First News with a Twist, and after that, the WGNO News, which is what we're currently doing, and fairly recently, within the last month or so, moved to morning anchor with Amy Russo. Yeah,
I was saying you, when I was saying you were coming on a few minutes ago, hyping it, I was like, this guy's closer to 40 years in the business. I'm closer to 30. I'm a little over 30. I'm like LBJ, I think's closing in on 40. Our careers in more ways than one or two mirror each other. Like we started in radio, actually in the same building. You just beat me there by a little bit, and we in the same place, same call letters, essentially. And then we both at the same time transitioned into TV, where it became not just a side thing, but like a significant piece of the pie. About the same time at the same station. You've just been at it a little bit longer, and you like to fish.
Yeah, and I like to fish. You know, Corey, the other thing is when we look at histories of the business itself, and only for perspective purposes, radio even was a business when I got into it that most of the people in management, most of the ownership, most of the talent were not local people, because that's the way the business was built. In other words, if you started doing weekends in one city, you probably would move up by getting a job, say doing overnights in another city, and then maybe there was a midday job in Memphis, and you apply there, and then you probably can do afternoons if you worked there for a while and got some good ratings, maybe in Detroit or something like that. And so that's kind of how the business was built across every format. And even on the television side, it's kind of still that way in TV news now, where you kind of market hop. I think a couple of things helped, and I won't say help in terms of industry side, because I think the biggest part of this that has happened is consolidation.
Yep.
And the ability for companies to buy up and, all but obliterate the whole mom and pop
like
ownership kind of thing.
iHeart, I think, has over 1,000 stations.
Yes,
when you and I were at WQUE on Gravier Street in the old school building, I think when they were like an Oklahoma City-based company, a San Antonio-based. That was like their two little places. I want to say QUE and YLD, the AM and FM, those four stations were like 13, 14, 15, and 16 or something of their acquisitions.
That's exactly right. And what essentially happens is that as this whole acquisition thing happened, those companies, for better or for worse, certainly for better in terms of being able to work in the same market and be promoted from within, that has helped careers like yours and mine and all. On the other hand, it has obliterated local ownership.
Yeah, mom and pop.
Yeah, and what we have surrendered there in having a voice, a more powerful voice on the local level. Mind you, I think they're probably better about it now in some ways than they've ever been. The industry has had to grow in that direction.
Yep.
But we certainly lost the grassroots in many ways of what local radio did. And like I said, across formats, you go back to what WTIX meant to this market, what WRNO meant to this market, those kinds of stations that were locally owned, TIX back and that sort of thing, but were locally owned, WWL when they were owned by Loyola and all of those things, what they meant to these cities and what the work that was done, the good that was done outside of the internet.
Oh, no. I mean, even indirectly, LBJ, like right now, I'll hear a promo or something, and it'll be like, your talk station. Like, yeah, I really like the talk. Yeah, it's great that you guys are listening to me. All you guys, I was getting a soda in Quebec, and it's almost like that. It's like this, it's a national, here's the voice track of all these people saying we love talk radio. Use your voice guy to do the intro and outro and make this a local promo. So I'm hearing this local promo with a bunch of Northerners on it saying they love the local talk radio station because they listen to you. And then also coupled with a lot more national spots, the corporate selling 50 markets to Anheuser-Busch or something instead of, the local commercial going.
Yes. And even for revenue for local salespeople and those kinds of things, it's really been, it's really made things differently. I wish that weren't the case, and I wish there was an effort to, enhance local ownership again, because I just think that there are some things that we've lost that I don't know if we ever get back. And other things that there's also, in my opinion, the structural issue of overpaying for these stations, which is when these companies were gobbling them up, they were paying 15, 20, 30 times cash flow. Money they will never be able to make on those stations. And you really can't blame the local companies for selling. Corey, if your dad had a station here and he was making, I don't know, maybe $1 million a year grossing, and you grow up and you say, I don't know if I really want to do that. Dad moves on or passes away, or, mom and dad move on. and it's left in your lap, and you're like, God, I hate coming here. I've been coming to the radio station since I was 5 years old. Someone offers you $15-20 million.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Ed Munez just passed away.
Yeah,
he owned 95.7 and 105.3. And he got $15 million each for those stations that I would think today, 95.7, I don't think is worth $15 million today. And 105.3 might be because it's connected to 870, but that's the only reason. It's like the legacy station in town. But, and it was just a music station as 105.3 before. So, how do you not take the 50? It's like the LIV golf tour. You have to take the money. I mean,
you got to take the money. You just got to take the money.
It's so much more.
As a society, we're less rich for it. Yep. However, again, that is something to aspire for. I have seen some promising things with Low Power FM. I have seen some other things morph out of this. Community radio like WWOZ, like WHIV, and some of those kinds of stations that do a lot of good.
Hey, LBJ, hang on 1 second. Sure. That 32 after the hour break is coming down the tracks right now.
1970 was an exciting time in New Orleans. The first Jazz Fest was held, the city hosted its first Super Bowl, and the first Helm Paint location opened on Earhart Boulevard. While the floppy disks, mood rings, and pet rocks may have come and gone since the 70s, Helm Paint has grown to become your premier source for quality Benjamin Moore products, competitive pricing, and personal service. Please visit one of our locations today, and we'll meet our competitors' prices on any identical product. Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore, let us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
For over 20 years, serving healthy, fresh, authentic Middle Eastern cuisine, Lebanon's Cafe. In the Carrollton section of Uptown on the streetcar line, Wednesday through Monday, 11 a.m. to 9:30. Lebanon's Cafe.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralocks, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom-made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this Lamarck Automotive Complex, wheel alignments, struts, servicing your transmission. We do in all makes and models. It doesn't have been purchased from us. It's for you. It handles your lifestyle with your budget in mind. And we want to get you in and out as quick as possible. Quick Lane, you got to come see it. You're going to love the experience right there at Williams Boulevard in Kenner.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations, New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
When USA Today ranked the 10 best must-visit New Orleans restaurants for travelers, Mid-City's own Katie's made the list. USA Today says Scott Craig is chef-owner at Katie's, a much-loved Creole Italian eatery that draws armies of regulars for lunch, brunch, and dinner. A neighborhood spot where locals congregate and New Orleans-style hospitality rules. Indeed it does. Katie's in Mid-City. For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop, for over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
New Orleans' own LBJ is with us on the program, visiting this afternoon. Hey, LBJ, where did you go to, I know you flashed through it a little while ago, but I always ask where did you go to high school? Where did you go to, grammar school when you came here at age 5 from New York with your New Orleans native parents and brothers and sisters? Where did you go to, grammar school, high school, college, all of that?
All over. We moved all over, man. At first, around the corner from my grandparents in Lower Ninth Ward, Wallace Elementary for a minute. And then William O. Rogers for a year in Tremay, and then McDonough 39, and that was the rest of my elementary school after my parents had bought a house out off of Franklin Avenue. Junior high, Bell Junior High, and I played in the Bell Junior High Marching Crusaders Band, which
nice.
Under the direction of Donald Richardson, who we secretly called Meathead, but he was a fantastic and a legendary junior high school marching band instructor. Now, Donald Richardson was so good that the Bell Junior High Band was a feeder school. At the time we had junior highs, the best of the bands here in the city was Bell Junior High in Woodson, uptown. And those kids fed the high schools and everywhere from the Ferret boys uptown, up at Forshey to Clark, John McDonough, McDonough 35, St. Aug, all of those schools were fed by this wealth of junior high bands that we had. Donald Richardson was also the impetus behind Derek Tabb, who runs the Roots of Music, that music program, the after-school music program. He also went to Bell Junior High. This guy was saving kids' lives back in the 70s and 80s, and he was brilliant. He really was very good. After junior high, I went to St. Aug, played in the famed Marching 100, was in school and in the band with Terrence Blanchard and a bunch of those guys.
Wow.
And Terrence is one of those musicians who made me realize that I was not going to be a professional musician. And so,
yep.
Because he was that brilliant. He was in freshman year. Terrence was first trumpet in the St. Aug Marching Band with us. We were all freshmen. And we were like, wow, that dude is like next level. He eventually left St. Aug the following year and went to NOCA, finished there because at the time you couldn't go to St. Aug and go to NOCA as well. You couldn't go to a Catholic school and go to NOCA. But he transferred out, and we remain friends to this day, man. A number of cats that I went to school with that were just brilliant musicians. And that was kind of my wheelhouse the whole way coming up, playing. Herman LeBeau, the drummer, who played with Alan Toussaint and everybody else. I mean, just a whole slew of guys that I played music with who were just brilliant. And I still loved music and wanted to do something, but also wanted to be a journalist and everything else. And so kind of the middle ground for me was having a college professor at Loyola, who I thought was the most effective for me, was a man by the name of Bob Krieger, who was a former sportscaster here in New Orleans.
Yep.
And he was just a guy who was just very down to earth. He worked in the business and taught at Loyola, which means that he had very practical knowledge of the business, right? He was always very encouraging and just very sweet and all that. And along the way, and he was my radio production professor. In fact, his grandson is now is Rob Krieger over at Fox 8 now.
Yep.
Who does mornings over there. But I was blessed to have so many guys on the professional side, Corey, from the very beginning. I was the snot-nosed kid sleeping in the radio station overnight and then going to work, going to class the next morning at Loyola. And then, they let me stay around and learn and, and gave me a little job and all of that. And everyone from that brilliant staff on YLD in the early 1980s, which took that station to number one, Tony Brown and Anthony Wilson and Keita Allen and Kim Boutte and people like that. And Warren, Warren Bell, who was back in radio at that time, who's like a big brother to me, and Norman Robinson and people like that continue to embrace and pull me along and drag me along. And I was a knucklehead, Corey, we're all, 19, 20, we don't get it,
Nope.
But those are the guys who have been incredible mentors to me. And even to this day, to share a newsroom with Susan Rosen and Kurt, people like that for the past, 13 or so years has been wonderful because they're just people that are the most giving and sharing and
Plus,
storytellers.
Susan and Kurt are total television professionals, like 110%.
Yeah.
They don't cut corners. They don't slack. They don't say something and not do it. They follow through. They've got a routine. They could go to any market in America. Yeah. That's what I got out of Kurt. And Susan carried me when I'd anchor. I mean, first off, I'm serious. Can I anchor the news? Sure. But, they're different levels. And this is a woman that did it in New York and San Diego and is a total pro. Yeah, and then she has to sit next to some guy they bring in that's filling in kind of. No, and I'm serious. And she has to make sure that guy is at her level, sort of like, or at least the news stays at a level where she's in that picture and it's acceptable. So she's got to do her gig and make sure she's kind of keeping me following where I'm supposed to be and what camera and all of this. And she'd never admit it, but it made it easier with somebody like Susie, and Kurt would do the same thing. But Susie carried me.
Yeah, well, the good news is that folks that way and like that, and there are a couple in each of our newsrooms in town that are like executive producers, and that just them being there, that is not their official title, but it is like having 2 or 3 executive producers who can hear something and bring that frame of reference, that wealth of history and knowledge to a story and say, oh, okay, remember back and we covered a story like that over in such and such. And, Sprang, who covered the Branch Davidian thing as it was going on over in Beaumont or whatever.
Yeah. I'll see YouTube video and it'll be Kurt Sprang reporting. Yeah.
And so, you don't get, it doesn't get any deeper than that. But hey, man, some crazy stories the last couple of days. Have you seen any of this stuff?
Well, I mean, what would it be? The bear coming off Destin Beach, the Hammerhead Sharks in Orange Beach, $30,000 on first-class tickets to South Korea by the mayor. I don't know. Pick your poison. Which one is it? Trump?
Here's one you didn't mention, but I want to mention because I just think there's so many different sides to this, and it's fascinating. And I'm not talking about the chef who we thought was dead, showed up alive. The woman and her mother arrested in St. Charles Parish yesterday this is a 26-year-old woman who had enrolled at Hahnville High School for the entire year.
Yeah.
Who was on record as being a 17-year-old. Now, she and her mother used false documents, a false passport and all that. This is a Hispanic woman. She and her mother, and they enrolled in school using a fraudulent passport and birth certificate. As I'm reading the story earlier, I'm saying to myself, well, I got a kid. It'll be a junior at Ben Franklin this year. I certainly don't want him in school with a 26-year-old.
Yeah.
Or a 28-year-old is what she was, right? But what if the other side of this is that this woman wanted to get an education?
Oh, no, that's, I mean, look, life is tough. And, you know, if that's the story and just trying to get a high school education and, you know, you have empathy, but still the flip side is some sexual predator, some sick individual. So the truth and all that needs to be out there. LBJ, all BS aside, and I don't say this, I mean, I'm kind of pseudo embarrassed, but not really. I was on vacation and I watched about 2 or 3 Law and Order episodes in a row. And one of them was this girl, 28 in high school. This is like a week ago. I'm not kidding you. This is like a Law and Order episode. Wow. No, it's crazy. Wow. But what is the story though? Like what is...
So Sheriff Greg Champagne held a media conference today, and along with the superintendent of schools out in St. Charles Parish. And they both were arrested on Tuesday at their home in Booty, Louisiana, and both are charged with 1 count each of injuring public records. The sheriff went even further to say that she attended all year, was not involved in any extracurricular activities, and not aware of any disciplinary issues while attending the school. She utilized school transportation to and from the school. By the way, I'm reading from the press release that was issued by the St. Charles Parish Sheriff's Office at about 3 o'clock today. There is no current evidence of any other criminal activity or inappropriate conduct by either the girl or her mother. This young woman advised investigators she enrolled in school to learn the English language.
Wow. Oh, so she's not native to this country, doesn't know English.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
This thing's getting more interesting all the time.
Yeah, which colors this a different way for me. You know?
Hold that thought. Hold that thought, LBJ. Sure. This is really interesting. LeBron Joseph's with us. Corey Johnson with you on a wide open Wednesday. LBJ's thoughts on this story next. The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port NOLA has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com. Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Being a part of people's lives, from an engagement ring to a wedding band. Before you know it, the wedding day is here and groom and bride are exchanging gifts on that day. And not too long after that, there's baby gifts to have. And I just enjoy being part of other people's family, saying, Mr. Friend did my engagement ring and he did my mom and dad's engagement ring. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets has daily lunch specials Monday through Friday, and their entire lunch menu is available too. Open 11 a.m. through 2:30 p.m. For the finest in Sicilian and Italian cuisine, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
It's time to relax. The Woodhouse Day Spa, Metro New Orleans' premier day spa experience, now with 5 area locations. For a day of relaxation or maybe just a quick 1-hour getaway, the Metro area's premier day spa experience is at the Woodhouse Day Spa. And now 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and our newest location in Mandeville. The Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
That's what I said. Leidenheimer. That's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
For over 120 years, New Orleans' very own Leidenheimer French bread.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof, now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
What actually lasts a lifetime? Not much, but at Helm Paint, we have something guaranteed to last a lifetime. Benjamin Moore's Regal Select. This paint and primer in one offers cutting-edge waterborne technology, smooth application, and long durability. Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore, your New Orleans paint store.
From the owners of Katie's in Mid-City and Bienvenue in Harahan, an old school deli with over a dozen specialty sandwiches. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Rouse's Market is hiring. With 65 stores, full or part-time employment, and flexible scheduling, Rouse's has a job for you, or maybe even a career. Apply at any Rouse's store or online at rouses.com.
Yeah, you right. Corey Johnson back at you every afternoon. This program on radio, television, live streaming, CoreTalks.com. We're on YouTube. Click to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Corey Johnson Neutral Ground. It don't cost nothing. Every day it's brought to you by the Lamarck Automotive Complex on the car corner of Williams Boulevard and I-10 in Kennebra. Right on the corner, right on the price. Lamarck Ford, the big store, number one in the region. Lamarck Lincoln, number one in the state. And now the legendary Ford truck and SUV dealership on Jefferson Highway under the Lamarck umbrella. That's right, Crescent City Ford in Elmwood, in Harahan on Jefferson Highway. It's now Lamarck Crescent City Ford. Every day, this program brought to you by the Lamarck Automotive Complex in Kenner. And now Lamarck Crescent City Ford on Jefferson Highway. LBJ is with us. LBJ, to some people that have known you for years on radio and television, were they shocked to know your name's LeBron Joseph, or did they not know you were LeBron Joseph, only know you as LBJ?
Yeah, I guess, sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. Some folks know it, sometimes they don't.
Yep.
I get weird questions. What is your middle name? What does the B stand for?
Yep.
It's Ron,
Were you the 39th or whatever president of the United States? All this stuff. Great work with civil rights. You're a real world leader.
Yeah. I picked up the ball when I was, when the country needed me. So I was there.
You will take his boat vehicle, I bet. That thing that he could drive off the road into the lake. You could fish, drive it to work.
Yeah,
you ever saw that thing?
Sure. Yeah, I saw that thing. I'll take that for sure.
All right. Tell us about this great story in Hahnville that may end up being a good story.
Well, we're hoping.
Yeah, we're hoping.
I am anyway. I mean, I'm certainly not in contact with any of these folks. It's something that I viewed from afar. But this morning, as we were reporting on this story about a 28-year-old woman.
46-year-old mother, Latino.
Yes.
Yep.
Both. And both arrested at their home for enrolling the daughter into school, posing as a 17-year-old.
Wow.
And for some reason, that's what I thought this morning. I'm like, well, this woman just wanted an education. I wasn't thinking anything beyond that. Now, as a parent, there's another side of me that says, well, do I want my kid in school with a 26-year-old? No, I don't. the risk involved in that for whatever reasons. No, it's not something that I want. However, later on, because we meet every morning and talk about stories that are out there and what we're doing and everything else. And it turns out that specifically what, according to the sheriff and the school superintendent out in St. Charles Parish, is that the woman advised investigators she enrolled in school to learn the English language. We have a significant Hispanic population in our region.
Yep.
Many of them came to help rebuild our city in our region after Hurricane Katrina. Many of the people that are here are family members of those people, still doing significant work here in our city and in our region. One would hope that there are resources for these people outside of that. Now, what I suspect, Corey, you don't just get a fake passport fall out the sky. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm 60 years old and I don't know where to get a fake passport from. You know what I'm saying? So there is obviously something else at play here to facilitate that. I also suspect, and what I hear from agencies when we've done stories on the Hispanic population and some of the stuff that they're doing, and good stuff I'm talking about, there are service organizations, the Hispanic Apostolate of the Archdiocese, Puentes, NOLA, people like that are doing great work, helping families. One of the challenges with some of this population is people that are not here legally, that aren't 100% legal,
right?
That have come here illegally and are reluctant to apply for a class where they could get a GED or some other opportunity might exist for them.
And they're scared they'll get ousted or whatever.
Yes, or their children ousted or their husband ousted or something of that nature. And I would imagine it's a constant.
I like undocumented over illegal.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, 99.9% are like the folks that came and helped rebuild after Katrina.
Yes.
And most are legal that are here. I mean, in New Orleans, it's about 1 out of every 15 of us is a Honduran. So,
that is correct, because that is according to. I had a conversation with Ernesto, and Ernesto, who was Telemundo and the Hispanic radio stations, and Ernesto says, LeBron, the majority of this population are Hondurans who have, migrated here or immigrated here, and many gainfully employed, trying to feed their families and want better for their families.
Yep.
It's a very interesting story, though, with that woman. I'm not sure what the fallout becomes of this, especially whether you're documented or undocumented. I would imagine being charged.
Yeah, no, it's different. Yeah, no, I love the story. I hope it has a great outcome.
I hope so too.
Now what? Tomorrow morning, every weekday morning, what are the hours on Channel 26?
4:30 to 7 a.m. 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m.
4:30 to 7 a.m.
Amy Russo co-host, Brooke Laser on the weather, and Bill Wood in the streets.
But while Bill Wood's great, underrated. He's been at it forever. He's been at it 40-something years. Plus, he's like a yoga expert. He can tie himself in a pretzel knot.
He can. And he finds the best stories, and he also has won in the past couple of years several. He and Dr. Justin Abshire, several Emmy Awards. There are probably 10 or 15 in on the Emmy side.
Oh, yeah.
And just this year got the Murrow Award. And so we're really proud of Bill.
LBJ, always a pleasure, brother.
Love you, brother.
That's LeBron Joseph, Channel 26, WYLD. That's Blue Boy saying stick around, 5 o'clock power hour. Next.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson. On TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333. Also on YouTube. On radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
Hi, it's Ken Friend from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Come see us over on Maple Street in Uptown.
Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, Breitling time, 5 p.m.
Ford F-150, #1 seller in America. What about in the USA? Let's see, what about in the world? Who sells more trucks than Ford? Nobody. It's because the Lamar team is the real team. All that makes it happen is one goal. Everybody having a great experience at Lamar Ford. We became number one for a reason, because we're good. And we need to prove it every day, every deal, all the time.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
That's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer. That's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
5 generations, family owned and operated. Leidenheimer French bread.
Hi, this is Joey Helm. My dad, Bunky Helm, had a vision of a locally family-owned store serving the residential and commercial paint needs of New Orleans. I think Dad would be proud of today's Helm Paint and Decorating, and here's why. We have the best technical staff in the business, providing the best color matching service in Southeast Louisiana. Perfect matching for any color and any brand. And we'll save your colors so you don't have to save those old cans. Helm Paint offers free 2-hour delivery. Our in-store decorators will assist you on deciding what color and type of paint to best showcase your home. But most importantly, as your local independent Benjamin Moore dealer, our products provide the greatest value in the paint industry. Superior coverage, and Benjamin Moore paint simply covers better and lasts longer. New Orleans is a city of vibrant color, and no one else provides the paints of New Orleans like Helm Paint and Decorating. Visit any of our 6 locations or online at helmpaint.com.
Helm Paint, let us do you right. Helm Paint and Supply.
The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson.
Susan Spicer joining us on the program.
Even when they presented me the award, the people that I look up to the most, Frank was there and Donald Link was there. It does cause you to reflect back and think about your whole career.
Maybe the Stella Brennan Award says that to you, like I've arrived.
It certainly is kind of the ultimate honor when it comes to cooking and hospitality in New Orleans and the world.
New Orleans style talk gumbo, served daily.
Doesn't get much better than that, huh?
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralox, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralox technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralox is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the river, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom-made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Here's New Orleans native son, Corey Johnson.
New Orleans City Councilman Freddie King joins us.
So I want to first say thanks for having me. And believe it or not, man, I used to listen to your show all the time driving home. So it's an honor to be on.
Freddie, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on the program. Thanks.
The official afternoon talk show of the city of New Orleans. It's Corey Johnson on the neutral ground, where New Orleans is heard.
Hey y'all, it's Junket Cantrell, Mayor, City of New Orleans. We've decided to hold a contest where you can decide where I go next on my taxpayer finance vacation. I was thinking about Acapulco, but that's in the Western Hemisphere, and we can do a lot better than that. Think Europe, Asia, maybe even the Middle East. You know, if it's safe. You don't want old Junket Cantrell getting hurt. It's all about my vacation, having fun, and spending the city's money on my entertainment. I'll be flying first class, of course, and I'll be bringing some administrative flunkies with me. It should only cost the city around $30,000, maybe $40,000. Help me pick my next city finance vacation. Go online, Cantrell Junket at cityofno.gov, and have a feast day.
Hi, it's Martha Quinn, and you've tuned in to MTV. It is indeed New Orleans. Junket Cantrell, that commercial pretty much right on the money. Nearly $34,000 spent on first-class airline ticket upgrades for the mayor and an NOPD officer and her director of communication traveling to South Korea for about 72 hours. Who travels halfway around the world for 72 hours? And then who spends $34,000? Who buys their tickets to fly halfway around the world for 72 hours, 11 days out, a week and a half out? Much more expensive when you do that. Just absurdity on top of ridiculousness. It just doesn't stop. And now the mayor's saying because the flight was longer than 10 hours, she doesn't have to pay back the upgrades. That's not how it works. Like the 11 days in advance, you got to buy tickets at least 2 weeks in advance. Should be a lot longer because you plan this important trip. South Korean climate conference, the only mayor in the United States attending. And just the nonsensical answers the mayor comes up with. I used to work for a radio station. They would put people on the air that wouldn't go, and they thought that was a success. The mayor feels that, going to South Korea, New Orleans being a city where we have hurricanes and flood problems, and this being the South Korean Climate Change Conference, ideas can be shared, growth can be achieved, unity can be provided. Those aren't answers to anything. It's just babbling nonsense. And because the mayor didn't go on, and, used a few 3 and 4 syllable words, thought that it had meaning and justification on the trip, the junket, the taxpayer financed junket. 3 first-class airline tickets over $33,000, nearly $34,000. And the mayor's now claiming, no, not going to pay for those upgrades because the trip was more than 10 hours. Only one leg of the trip, that San Francisco to Tokyo, is north of 10 hours. All the other legs are shorter. Could have flown cheaper, like the city charter says. Hopefully the council, the IG, I don't know who, someone holds the mayor responsible, because there's like 2.5 more years of Mayor LaToya Cantrell in office, and there's going to be a lot more junkets that don't provide a single dollar or job to us, the citizens, the city of New Orleans. So someone's got to kind of keep the mayor in check a little bit, right? The state awarded a contract to study the, quote, St. Bernard Transportation Corridor, which essentially is an elevated roadway that would support the $1.8 billion, nearly $2 billion international terminal, the Louisiana International Terminal in Violet. The Port of New Orleans' container terminal, an elevated roadway connecting the terminal, connecting Violet to I-510 via an elevated roadway. That is so long overdue. That, ironically, to me, would be like an extension of an already existing project, the Florida Avenue Expressway. The Lowe's on Elysian Fields in between the I-10 and the 610 by that overpass, that Lowe's, that sits on the corner of Elysian Fields and Florida Boulevard, Florida Avenue. Florida Avenue going due east eventually hits the St. Bernard Parish line and then essentially turns into the 40 Arpit Canal, which runs right into Paris Road / I-510. That's been proposed for like 50 years, where I-10 and I-610 meet essentially by the Lowe's on Elysian Fields and Eastern Highway, like an Earhart Expressway for New Orleans East, for Chalmette, for St. Bernard Parish, for the 9th Ward. You could get from St. Bernard Parish to like Lakeside Shopping Center in 15, 18, 20 minutes tops instead of 40, like half the time. No, I mean, poor St. Bernard. You go Paris Road, you go St. Bernard Highway, you go Judge Perez. That's the only way out of the parish. Those 3 roads, that's it. No elevated expressway, no highway, no interstate. There's something very wrong with that, especially in 2023. This port project, I'm a St. Bernard resident. I'm all over this port project. I'm backing it 110%. I'm getting with other residents saying, let's back this. The caveat is this road from Violet to I-510 must be built. And assurances that in the future, near term, not long term, the Florida Avenue Expressway will be built. And ideally, you get a new Mississippi River Bridge at I-510 in St. Bernard, connecting into roughly Belle Chase, English Turn area of the West Bank, connecting to a spur to I-49. I-510 in Chalmette in New Orleans East, I-310 out in Destran in Luling. Those are supposed to be the outer edges of an interstate loop for New Orleans. I-10 is sort of the northern side of it, and I-49 West Bank Expressway is the southern side of it. Anyway, first things first, the state awarded a contract to study the St. Bernard Transportation Corridor to support the $1.8 billion Louisiana International Container Terminal for the Port of New Orleans and Violet. No, St. Bernard folks need to leverage it. Yes, we want the port. We embrace the port. The jobs, bring it on. Where are you going to expand it? We want to look forward to expansion even. But where's the roadway elevated from Violet to I-510? Got to have that. Got to have that. And then you got to study that roadway. What kind of exits do you have off of it in between, the port and I-510? A St. Bernard exit, that type of thing. a Paris Road exit, since this road would probably, you're going from I-510 to Violet, it would go southeast. Chalmette would be due south. So you'd need like a spur or something, some exit off of that for Chalmette proper. Anyway, the state awarded a contract to study that at least. LSU Tigers in Omaha. Glenn Guilbeau will be there next week. He's been covering LSU for almost 40 years. He wrote a book, Skip. He's going to join us next to discuss it. Hey, Lebanon's Cafe is open right now. Lebanon's Cafe rolling till 9:30 tonight. Lamb chop, shish kebab, all your favorite Middle Eastern sides. Carrollton at Jeanette by the streetcar barn. Lebanon's Cafe.
That's what I said. Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
Served in New Orleans' finest restaurants, Leidenheimer French bread.
When a young man comes in and they walk into our store, and you can see they're a little intimidated. Last week, I saw the young man. I said, "Hey, what can I do to give you a hand?" He said, "Well, I'm here for an engagement ring, but I don't think I'm in the right place." So I got him to my desk, and within an hour, he had purchased an engagement ring, had spent $1,000, and he was treated like he spent a lot more, and I'm sure we have a customer for life. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLA.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLA.com, your cool spot.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port NOLA has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
There's a Middle Eastern restaurant that's less than 5 minutes from where Causeway and River Road meet. Lebanon's Cafe. Convenient to Old Metairie and Old Jefferson. Carrollton at Jeanette on the streetcar line. Lebanon's Cafe.
Custom window treatments can enhance the look and value of your home. At Helm Paint and Decorating, we're proud to offer custom plantation-style window shutters by Scandia. Perfect for any window, including large frames, French doors, sliding doors, and arches. American-made SL300 shutters are available in many colors to match your personal decor. We'll come out to measure, and you'll receive fast delivery. Plus, they're virtually maintenance-free.
Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore led us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
In New Orleans, we don't eat to live. We live to eat.
More is better.
Scott Craig of Katie's.
That is our slogan. More is better at Katie's. It means more of everything. Not just more food, more smiles, more friendship, more love, more. When you do something, you have to do it right. You know, it's all about more, and it's all more of the good things.
At Katie's Restaurant in Mid-City. Rouse's Market is hiring. With 65 stores, full or part-time employment, and flexible scheduling, Rouse's has a job for you, or maybe even a career. Apply at any Rouse's store or online at rouses.com.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Yeah, you right. Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson back at you on a wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Why aren't you at Katie's right now? 5:20 in the afternoon on a Wednesday midweek. So many folks have lunch and dinner at Katie's. So many folks wind down their day at Katie's, go plop down at the bar, get an appetizer, split an entree with somebody, grab some drinks. Lots of New Orleans characters that live in the neighborhood. It is their neighborhood restaurant bar. For a lot of folks, they drive there, and it's their neighborhood restaurant and bar. Katie's in Mid-City, as New Orleans as it gets, a true taste of the city. The quintessential New Orleans neighborhood restaurant. Why aren't you at Katie's in Mid-City right now? This guy's a New Orleans native. He's been covering LSU athletics for nearly 40 years. Glenn Guilbeau joins us on the program. How you doing, Glenn?
Good. Good. How are you?
I'm warm on that, right? Almost 40?
Man, it doesn't feel good to say that. But yeah. Started covering LSU in 1983, and didn't cover them continuously through that, but
pretty close.
Quite a while.
What's the resume? Yeah. Give us the bio. Take us from 83 to 2023. Glenn, first gig.
Well, the first one was at Tiger Egg magazine in 1983. Jerry Stovall was the football coach. And then from there, I went to the Montgomery Advertiser in Alabama, covered Alabama and Ray Perkins. Got fired. And then became the sports editor at the Slidell Century News.
Wow.
On Highway 11, right over the lake there in 87. And then Alexandria Town Talk, started covering LSU again in 89. 93 went to the Mobile Register, covering Alabama again. Covered Auburn a little bit. Then left in 98 for the Baton Rouge Advocate to cover LSU football and Skip's last 2 years, 2000, 2001, and then covered him as AD, and then left the Advocate in 04 to go to Gannett, Louisiana, where I worked until 2021. In 2021, I left for Outkick.com, where I am now, which is affiliated with Fox News, and I really don't cover LSU anymore, but unless they're really good, like now with baseball. I cover really kind of my title is national columnist now, so I cover a little bit of everything.
Nice. Are you enjoying the new gig, Glenn?
Oh, it's great, man. It's great. Fox bought Outkick was started by Clay Travis several years ago, and Clay Travis replaced Rush Limbaugh, if you remember.
Yep.
And he just started a blog, and it exploded, and then Fox bought it in the spring of 2021. They started expanding their staff, and that's when I got hired the next fall. So it's been good. You know, we travel. Don't travel all the time, but we do make trips. I'm not in Omaha until a week from Friday for the championship series. I was at the Final Four in Houston, and you know, we cover a lot of stuff that's kind of close. I was at the Georgia semifinal, but it's been fun. I do a lot of stuff. Wrote about Secession, the HBO series. I'm doing something on the Bill Walton 30-30 right now. But I've been doing quite a bit on LSU baseball as well recently.
Yeah, Secession was a good show. I'm loving that this Lakers thing, this winning with the Lakers is coming back for a season too. I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, Winning Time. That was supposed to be back already. I haven't seen a date for the second season.
I thought they said August, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, I remember they began filming for it last August. So hopefully it's in the can. But yeah, I've been looking forward to that too. That was a cool series.
That was hysterical.
Yeah, and I did a feature on that in the New Orleans connections to it. I interviewed Barry Mendelson because he was very upset with the treatment of Jerry West in that. Because, Mendelson, the former GM of the Jazz, he came to New Orleans from the Lakers and was really close with Jerry West. But, and he made that trade that ended up being Magic Johnson.
Yep, Gail Goodrich.
The Lakers.
Yep.
And the Jazz got Gail Goodrich, right? But who was a great player for a while with Pete. But anyway, I digress.
I thought I didn't have a problem with that. I know he attempted to sue the show, but then backed off of that. I think it's just Hollywood embellishing and exaggerating, but I think that's the core of who the guy is. I think that's pretty fair. I think he's hyper
there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that said that it was pretty accurate. That most of that show was accurate.
Yep.
Maybe exaggerated a bit or dramatized. But the thing is, if they really were like that back then, Jerry West and some of the others, back at that time, stuff didn't get out. So
exactly.
we wouldn't have known.
Exactly. That's all they're doing is exaggerating what didn't get out. No, Jerry West, that's my favorite character on the show. He's awesome.
Jerry West is a great guy, but I tell you, the first thing I thought of, this is a great anecdote, because, Jerry West, in the opening of the series, he doesn't like Magic Johnson. He didn't want the Lakers to pick Magic Johnson.
That's right.
Because he didn't play textbook basketball.
No, I think he wanted Sidney Moncrief.
Yeah. He didn't want Showtime. Well, that fits exactly to the Jerry West I met at an LSU basketball game in like the 83-84 season when I was at Tiger Rag, and I sat next to him. He was not coaching the Lakers. I think he was GM or something. He was just scouting some of LSU's players.
Wow.
And he was a really nice guy, but somehow the subject turned to Pete Maravich, and he was like, "Oh, Pete was not a good player." And I'm like, I was shocked he said that, and I tried to be nice. I didn't say anything.
Sure.
And I was 22 years old, but I disagreed with him so harshly. But the fact he didn't like Pete is the same reason he didn't like Magic, because he was the textbook player,
Yep. No, Jerry West was, exactly. The consummate professional, and he thought these guys were showboats and needed to rein it in.
So he'd probably thought Michael Jordan was a silly player his first few years with the Bulls before he started winning.
Glenn Guilbeau's with us. Hey, Glenn, you're going to Omaha next week. LSU's back in Omaha. You go to these.
I think LSU will still be there. We plan to go to just the championship series like in January. But I think LSU will still be there, so I'm hoping they are.
You go to a game at Alec Bertman Box, which they outdraw, I think, 3 major league teams right now on average. The Devil Rays, the Marlins, and the Athletics. Just incredible baseball program. The program that Skip Bertman built, that Intimidator billboard, 5 of the 6 national titles are Skip's teams. Put baseball on the map, got the SEC playing baseball, got the rest of the country playing baseball, got the NCAA, some schools realizing you can make a profit off of baseball, on and on and on. Change the sport, Hall of Famer. Appropriate that books have been written about Skip, and you just penned a book on Skip Bertman. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you. It's called Everything Matters in Baseball, the Skip Bertman Story. It's been out since August. But, Jay Johnson is in the book toward the end as he got the job and took over at LSU. And it was so cool what Jay said last week after getting to Omaha. He said he remembered watching LSU as a 12-year-old kid, and he grew up in Northern California. And he grew up an LSU fan.
Wow.
I mean, he became an LSU fan because they were in Omaha all the time. So, and that's why he took the job. in addition to getting to coach Dylan Cruz, he wanted to be at a place that Skip Bertman built. We're having a book signing for the Skip Bertman book Saturday, just in time for Father's Day. It's going to be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Barnes & Noble on Veterans Highway. It's just going to be me, though. Skip's not going to be there. Skip's going to be in Omaha. But I'll be signing books 11 to 1.
11 to 1, Barnes & Noble on Vets, right there past Causeway by Division?
Yep.
All right. That's 11 to 1 this Saturday, Glenn?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Come on by, Corey.
Yep.
I'll get you a cup of coffee.
No, that sounds good. Skip Bertman's book by Glenn Guilbeau. Glenn will be at the Barnes & Noble on Vets this Saturday from 11 to 1. Get out there, Tiger fans. Perfect as the Tiger baseball team's in Omaha. You're back in Omaha for the first time in 6 years, Glenn.
Yeah. Yeah, you can after you get a book, you can go to Drago's, and then you can watch the game. It starts at 6.
Yep, exactly, on ESPN, yep.
But this is the largest time span between trips to Omaha for LSU since pre-Skip. It's been 6 years. The previous long was like 4 years.
Wow.
And under Skip, they never went more than 2 years without going.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing.
That is amazing. No, Scott, I remember going to LSU in mid-'80s and go to a baseball game. There were 400 people there.
Yeah. Oh, well, early 80s, yeah.
Yeah, even in the mid 85, 86.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh,
really?
yeah. I mean, by like 86, 87, it finally started growing. But I think my third year there, 87, you probably had 3,000-4,000 a game, something like that, from 300 or 400, 2 years earlier.
Yeah,
and then
maybe
it took off
midweek.
since then. Then they just.
I remember going to games in '85 against Mississippi State that was packed at Alex Box. Now some of the midweek games weren't quite packed, but yeah, it really became a thing. And this is in the book. It really kind of became a thing in. I guess they became the postseason monster in 1990. That's when they became the home regional monster. Because, they were great in 87, but they won the regional at UNO.
Yeah, I think 87's when they got knocked out by Stanford with that grand slam, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, off of Ben McDonald. Right. They won that regional at UNO. And then in 89 was a great story where they beat number 1 A&M at College Station. But from 1990 on, they hosted every year. And 1990 was really the first year that Alex Box became the summer version of Tiger Stadium. Really, that's when things got really, people were tailgating out there, and that just wasn't going on anywhere else in the country.
No, but now there's a lot of duplication. At least teams trying to do it. Lots of college programs investing in college baseball. The program, the facilities. Skip Bertman's like the number one mover on all this, right, Glenn?
Oh, there's no question. He, Ron Polk was great at Mississippi State.
So was Dado at USC, but,
Right. They didn't have the attendance, though. Well, Mississippi State had the attendance, but they didn't become iconic like LSU did.
They were kind of like La Tech with women's hoops back then. They were this outlier, and no one else cared or tried.
Yeah, and still nobody really goes to college baseball games on the West Coast that much, like at UCLA and USC, because they just got too much other stuff going on.
Yeah,
but he really made it an event to go to games in Baton Rouge.
We're visiting with Glenn Guilbeau. What do you think their chances are in Omaha, Glenn? I mean, a few, like 6-8 weeks ago, prohibitive favorite to win it all. A month ago, kind of in a slump and questions of pitching and bullpen. And now, as the season heads towards Omaha, the team seems to be peaking again and has regained their early to mid-season confidence before the drop-off. You got Schlossnagle and TCU. You got Wake Forest. You got a lot of good teams. What do you think LSU's chances are in Omaha?
Well, Schlossnagle's not at TCU anymore.
Oh, he's not.
No, he's at A&M.
Oh, that's right. What am I thinking? Of course. No, of course. He's at A&M.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
A year ago. But
no, that's right. You're right.
Program.
No, you're right.
Great coach, and great coach at Tulane as an assistant as well.
Yeah, he makes over $1 million a year at A&M. I don't know how I've slipped up on that. Yep.
But yeah, really just like a lot of Skip teams, this team is coming together late because quite a few of Skip's teams that won it all. They had little slips. They didn't win the SEC or they didn't win the SEC tournament or something like that. But he was getting his pitching together. And that's the thing about LSU that makes me think they could win it all or get very deep is that the pitching after Paul Skeens has really come on. Ty Floyd has looked pretty good recently. Really, though, Thatcher Hurd is the key. He's really come on late. Riley Cooper, and they've got some other guys in the bullpen that are pitching better.
Yep. So you think good a chance as any team?
Oh, I do. I really do. And Tennessee is really strong too, who they play in the opener. Tennessee's got the best pitching in the country. And we saw that at Southern Miss. Southern Miss didn't score like in their last two games against them. And that's going to be tough for LSU to score against them. But they got the best pitcher in the country going against Tennessee in the opener. Tennessee doesn't have quite the lineup LSU does, but that's a classic match. It's offense versus defense. Tennessee and LSU combined were number one in the nation over the previous two seasons for like 40 weeks. LSU this year, Tennessee last year. So that's a tough opener, and it's obviously a classic opener. That's why it's at prime time Saturday night.
Hey, Glenn, how does Coach Kelly duplicate last season's success again this year?
Well, I think they're going to be better. They got blown out in 3 of their 4 losses last year. I think they're going to be better in the passing game because Jaden's more experienced. He's going to have a better offensive line to open the season. Last year, he was running for his life first half of the season. I think the defense, Mason Smith back, is really going to help the defense. I think secondary needs to be better, but they're a favorite. I mean, they're a favorite to win the West because of Jaden Daniels. Alabama's got question marks at quarterback. The rest of the West doesn't look great. This could be a great year for LSU football.
You think LSU will be picked ahead of Alabama in the West this year?
Well, probably not. They should be. I think they'll be picked at SEC Media Days. Maybe not because there's such a Bama lobby at that thing. but I think LSU has a chance of being ranked about the same as Alabama going into the season. And there might be some people that pick LSU to win instead of Alabama. Right now, I'd pick LSU to win the West.
Boy, Kim Mulkey, incredible job. What more can you say? Obviously has a lot of influence too, Glenn. Late in the legislative session, $101 million slipped into the budget for PMAC renovations. What happened to the Tiger Athletic Foundation going to donors and collecting cash for that?
Yeah, I read about that. I don't know if that's actually going to go into fruition, though. It can still be altered.
50 of it seems pretty locked and loaded. That second 50 they have to fight for a little bit. But the point is, it was done. A few things that concern me, Glenn. First off, that situation. Second, why doesn't TAF pay for it? Third, and I'm all for a new facility, but Ole Miss built their pavilion, which seats 9,600 for about $98 million. This is a PMAC renovation. We know politics in Louisiana are disgusting. We know the politicians' number one toy is LSU. The consensus seems to be renovate the PMAC for $100 million plus. Some folks are like, why save that building when you could build brand new state-of-the-art for, I don't know, 150, 180 million? Get Baton Rouge involved because they desperately need a venue for concerts, conventions, and the like, where the Centroplex, the River Center, just doesn't cut it. I can go on this. A few people, 4 or 5 folks, making the decision to stay in the PMAC or not, how the money's going to be raised, all that. A little worrisome, to say the least, Glenn. And I'm all for LSU and their athletic program.
Well, I don't think they have been renovating the PMAC pretty well for the last several years.
Yep.
It's not nearly as bad as it was. Like, I remember when interviewing John Brady several years ago, and we were sitting in the gym, and the seat he was sitting in busted.
Oh, no. There were broken seats. They fixed all that.
Yeah.
But still, look at the Smoothie King Center. It's half as old. It's 25 years old, not 50. And for the NBA model, the complaint is not enough lower bowl seats, which means not enough club seats, not enough floor seats, not enough suites. The PMAC doesn't have any of that. There's no club seats, really, no great floor seats, no suites at all. The PMAC really, you would be gutting the building and keeping the walls and the roof, Glenn. I just don't. You got to add suites. You got to add club seats. Might have to sink the court into the ground. I don't know what they'd have to do to stay in that same footprint. My point is, a bunch of wing nuts with political agendas are making these decisions, and maybe not what's best for LSU.
Well, what's best for LSU is to build a freaking library that's not embarrassing.
That's number one.
It really is, and it wouldn't cost that much money. It's embarrassing. My wife and I were in that building last fall, and they got newspapers on the ground and buckets for the water, and there's mildew.
You got monitors that have a back to them, like not a flat screen monitor. I'm like, what is it going to be green when I go look at it? Yeah, that Middleton library needs to be torn down. A new one's about $150 million. Then you build a PMAC. That's you're right on the money on that, Glenn.
Yeah, and it wasn't long ago that some of the dorms at LSU were really embarrassing as well. And they even have to put some students down Highland Road a little bit, which is not safe. But no, LSU's always kind of had its priorities screwed up. They need to fix the library or get a new one or renovate or just pay attention to it. Is all they have to do. And I'm just not a big fan of the facility chase. They got a brand new practice arena several years ago, and then they got another one. What do you need a practice arena for? That doesn't bring in any fans. I didn't understand that.
I guess recruiting.
Yeah. Well, but you see, that's the thing. The facility chase is over now because the recruiting is all about the cash. Now players want the NIL money now. They don't care how great the facilities are. That was a great thing before they were getting the cash. Now they're getting the cash. So you better deposit. The booster money is now going to NIL. It's not going to go to facilities as much. But I still like the Assembly Center. They got the special seats on the front row because they kicked the media upstairs.
Yeah.
And compared to a lot of SEC buildings, it's still pretty good. And it's not as old as well. Actually, it's 3 years older than the Superdome. And I don't think they need a new stadium in New Orleans because they fixed that one up good.
I think it can be fixed up. I'm just like, do you do that or you build something? Look at that pavilion at Ole Miss. $100 million, 9,600 seats, state of the art, modern, plush, nice.
Go to the games. They're still not any good.
Oh no, you're right about that.
That happens a lot.
Yeah,
a new stadium wears off after about 3 years of the team.
Oh no, you're right. Building, they come in the beginning. That's right.
Yeah, and it's funny too, Corey. We hear about new facilities all the time, but and new NFL stadiums. Build a new stadium will bring you a Super Bowl. You never hear about, oh man, Ohio State needs a new football stadium, or LSU needs a new. You want to talk about old college football stadiums are the oldest things on earth, just about, or in the United States, and nobody's talking about building a new one.
Well, you remember, I do remember Bob Broadhead. You remember he talked about 100,000 seat stadium by the river for LSU, and abandoned Tiger Stadium. You remember that?
Yeah, and that one got vetoed.
Zero traction.
There's just something about football stadiums in the United States that, you fix them up. You don't build a new one unless it's like really bad. Like some of the NFL stadiums, those municipal stadiums were really bad. But most of your college football stadiums were built the right way back 100 years ago, or 80 years ago. And they last. And they fix them up and they extend to keep a bowl and they modernize it. And that's really the way to go.
Glenn Guilbeau's with us. What you been writing about lately, Glenn? If we go check out your stuff on Outkick, what will we be reading?
Well, I got a feature on LSU baseball went up yesterday. The Empire is back. LSU's back in Omaha, and it's about Jay Johnson and Skip and just how they won that super regional. And also wrote a little bit about Stetson Bennett taking a shot at the Senior Bowl director, which was funny last week. But and I'll have a story in the morning, just looking at the LSU Tennessee matchup, and more on the World Series as we get to Saturday.
Yep. And speaking of this Saturday, Glenn, what you got going from 11 to 1?
That's my Skip Bertman book signing. I'll be at the Barnes & Noble on Veterans Highway, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. signing Skip books. You can come. You can bring a book that you already bought, or you can buy one and get it signed by me. But Skip won't be there. Sorry.
Nope.
You got to sell for just me.
Glenn will be, and his book on Skip Bertman, Barnes & Noble on Veterans at Division, right past Lakeside, this Saturday from 11 to 1, lunchtime. Glenn, any final? No, go ahead.
And if you're a part of the St. Mary Magdalene class of 75 and you come get a book, that was my class, you get a free cup of coffee with the purchase of a book.
Wow. What if their class is 76?
No
coffee. Pay for it yourself.
Got to be 75.
Glenn, always a pleasure, brother. Hey, how can we check out your stuff? Outkick.com?
Yeah, it's a free website. No subscriptions necessary. It's just Outkick.com.
Thanks, Glenn. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
That's Glenn Guilbeau, Outkick.com. Yeah, he'll be signing the Skip Bertman book at Barnes & Noble this Saturday from 11 to 1. Be there. Corey Johnson with you on a wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Helm Paint and Decorating's been with you for over 50 years. Boy, I hear folks talking about these so-called coating companies. It is 110% nonsense. It's not revolutionary. It wasn't designed for our climate, our humidity. It's not a coating. It's paint. It's paint. I hear some guy talking. Do you ever notice the first 4 letters in the word paint or pain? How about the last 4 letters in paint? Ain't. It ain't a good idea to go with the so-called coating company. And don't take my word for it. Why don't you talk to a professional painter painting a house somewhere? Pull over the car, walk up and ask them, should I use one of these coating companies, or should I just go to Helm Paint and Decorating, get a high-quality Benjamin Moore product, and I'll never, ever have to paint my house again? That's what I did. Benjamin Moore, Regal Select, lifetime warranty, everything from Helm Paint and Decorating. I'll never paint my house again. My house looks like I painted it yesterday, and it's been a year now. And in 5 years, 10 years, it'll look the same. Lifetime warranty paint. Helm Paint and Decorating. They'll steer you in the right direction. That's the place to go. These so-called coating companies, you know what they really are? The world's most expensive home painting company. You don't need elastomeric paint. You need the pros at Helm Paint and Decorating steering you in the right direction. And paint your house for literally like pennies on the dollar, maybe 18, 20, 25 cents on the dollar compared to these so-called coating companies, the world's most expensive home painting companies. Helm Paint and Decorating, 7 locations, East Bank, West Bank, North Shore, free 2-hour delivery anywhere in Metro New Orleans. Helm Paint and Decorating. Corey Johnson with you. Where New Orleans Talks. Oh, so fine, 93.9 FM. Cox Channel 4 television, Spectrum Channel 333 TV every weekday, the first 90 minutes of the 2-hour radio program. KaareTalks.com till 6 o'clock. We're on YouTube until 6 o'clock. The state awarding a contract to study the St. Bernard Transportation Corridor. It would support the $1.8 billion, nearly $2 billion Louisiana International Terminal, the Port of New Orleans Container Terminal in Violet, an elevated roadway connecting that terminal, connecting Violet to the I-510 seamlessly. Love to see that happen. Nearly $34,000 in airline tickets, in airfare alone. Talking about Junket, Cantrell, and 2 others. The South Korea 72-hour trip. $34,000 in city funds for first-class, business-class airlines tickets. The flight was booked just 11 days in advance. And NOPD officer Robert Monlin went. Director of Communication Gregory Joseph went with the mayor. The South Korean Climate Conference, only mayor in the United States that went. Like I said, ticket booked 11 days out. This is just a whim. This is like throwing darts at a globe, at a map. Where are we going next? Hey, the U.S. Open from Los Angeles Country Club's North Course cranks up tomorrow. Always fun to watch the pros, even if you don't like golf. Professional athletes struggling, their toughest test, but it's totally fair, but it's right up against the ceiling of fair. So their toughest test. I like watching the best in the world, whatever sport or endeavor they're doing, and the toughest test, but yet is fair. That's what we should experience tomorrow from Los Angeles Country Club, which is a ridiculously exclusive club. They say harder to get into that than Augusta National. A club that really hasn't welcomed outside tournament play until recently. So it's sort of a first look-see at this. They have a north and south course. It's like 500-600 acres in the heart of Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, worth billions and billions of dollars. Very exclusive. They're opening up their doors, the U.S. Open at Los Angeles Country Club. Watching the pros struggle, I like that. Corey Johnson with you on a wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Hey, Leidenheimer French bread served at New Orleans' finest restaurants. That po' boy sandwich isn't right unless it's on Leidenheimer French bread. Oyster, shrimp, roast beef. Leidenheimer Baking Company, Leidenheimer French bread, over 125 years, 5 generations, family-owned and operated. Good to the last crumb. Since 1896, Leidenheimer Baking Company.
River Cities, total maintenance keeps you cool. River Cities, total maintenance keeps you cool. River Cities, total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot. River Cities, total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
It's time to relax. The Woodhouse Day Spa, Metro New Orleans' premier day spa experience, now with 5 area locations. For a day of relaxation or maybe just a quick 1-hour getaway, the Metro area's premier day spa experience is at the Woodhouse Day Spa. And now 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and our newest location in Mandeville. The Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com. Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing. Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes on magazine, as unique as you.
Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the river, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop, for over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof. Now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom-made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralox, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralox technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralox is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen. Yeah, you right. Wide open Wednesday edition of the program, Summertime in New Orleans. Corey Johnson with you. Thanks for joining us. If you missed the 4 o'clock hour, you missed a lot. Channel 26 news anchor, reporter, morning man, LeBron Joseph, LBJ joined us in the 4 o'clock hour. Glenn Guilbeau will be at the Barnes & Noble this Saturday, Tiger fans, from 11 to 1, signing his Skip Bertman book. Barnes & Noble on Vets at Division this Saturday from 11 to 1. Glenn joined us a few minutes ago to discuss LSU and Omaha, Kelly and football, a potential new PMAC or renovations to the building. You know, you can always check out the program after the fact on YouTube, Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, something you miss. It's always a good spot. Hey, Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is a good spot. I was in there today visiting with Ken Friend, checking out some diamond stud earrings. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers on Broadway, on Maple Street in between Broadway and Carrollton. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, Maple Street in between Broadway and Carrollton. Real diamonds, natural diamonds, Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. That's Blue Boy saying thanks for checking us out. We'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, 4 p.m. Be there, New Orleans.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson. On TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333. Also on YouTube. On radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
Hi, it's Ken Friend from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Come see us over on Maple Street in Uptown.
Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, Breitling time, 6 p.m.